So I'm Rebekah, about to graduate here, so I'm really excited about that. So basically, I'm going to show you a little bit of what my WordPress looks like and how it's set up, because I think it functions. It's pretty multifunctional. I use it as a portfolio to display my work that I've done, whether it be at the Rambler or elsewhere, my websites that I've created. And I also use it as my e-portfolio. Then I have a dance blog on there as well. So it works for a lot of different pages similar to what Jessica has. It's a bio about me, which I think everyone should have that on their page. It shows everybody a little bit about who you are as a person. I encourage you to make it fun. Include personal details about what you like, what you don't like, as well as where you go to school, where you're from, because that gives people a little bit of insight about you and who you are, not just what you do. So as you can see on here, I have a couple of different things. I like to keep my resume on my site because as somebody who's actively looking for jobs, I want employers to be able to have my business card in hand and be able to access my resume at any time. So I click on my resume. It's an issue document. You click on it, you open it, and it's right there. I also have a fun little section, which is a dance archive. It's a category, and I have my little some dances that I've choreographed and just a little blog post about what recital time is like. And so I think that's fun to have on your WordPress because it sets you apart from other people, things like that. Okay, so here's what you guys really are probably going to benefit more from, and it's the classwork samples, which is what you all have to have. And so I do my classwork samples as a category, and then everything underneath it is a subcategory. So for example, I just finished my digital production portfolio, and it's underneath classwork samples. And in that, each one of these is an individual post. And so rather than seeing everything on like one big long page, I like everybody to be able to look at it separately and click on it from there. And I think it looks a little bit nicer as well. And then I have my own personal published samples. You can go to the whole thing and see all of the posts if it will load, or you can just go to individual categories, publications, design, writing, etc. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really easy once you figure it out, and this was probably the thing that changed my WordPress completely, because I was like, oh, it's a page. I need to put everything on a page and it's gonna work great. And so I would put each assignment on a page and it would just go in a big long line. And that just doesn't look very nice. It's harder for your professor to follow. So what you do, and I think this is a good way to start out your WordPress, is decide what you're gonna put on your page. Decide, okay, I wanna have a page for my classwork. I want to have a category underneath my classwork of this, and this class. So easy, you go to categories. These are all of my categories, lots of them. And so, for example, you would create classwork samples. So that's what I just created. Underneath that, you would create a new one. Okay, let's pretend I have a class, public relations, even though I don't know if that's a name on there right now. Then you would say that your public relations is underneath your classwork samples, and you would make that its parent page. And so then everything that you put on your public relations page will go to your classwork samples page, and you could see all of it at one time. So I think that's a really good way to start. Where is it? Let me delete it because I don't need it. I think that's a really good way to start looking at your WordPress, just because it kind of gives you some organization. Now, Jessica didn't really talk about menus. Are you guys familiar with how to do the menus and everything like that? Yes? Okay. So one thing to keep in mind, if you're ever, and I experienced this yesterday, if you're ever going to change a name of something, or if you're going to put it in a different place, make sure that you go back and double check your menu. So you go to Appearance and Menus, and make sure that what you see here is what you want to show up on your page. What else do I want to talk about? Fun stuff. Oh, troubleshooting. So I'm going to go to the Rambler page as well. So if you ever do decide to get, obviously my page is still doesn't have a domain name or anything. It's 100% free. I use all the tools that WordPress gives me. I haven't had to go outside and get anything. But a page like the Rambler, or if you decide to get your own domain, you can run into problems the more advanced that the site gets, which we have experienced quite a bit this semester. So okay, so as you can see, this has a lot more on it than what you're used to seeing, correct? So what's really good about these sites, and the reason that as soon as I have the ability, I will purchase something like this, is because it allows you to do so much more than you really could. For example, plugins are my favorite thing ever, and they can also be the worst thing in the entire world. Because if a plugin is not compatible with your site, which sometimes it'll tell you that it is, sometimes it won't, it could crash your whole site. So for one of my favorite things that we've implemented this year is the team plugin. So that has its own little section, and we can put every single employee on our site, and we can put their bios in and links to their work, and it's really fun, and it's a really nice way to keep organized. There's thousands and thousands of plugins that you can use. There's social media plugins. There are like calendar countdowns that you can put on the front of your site if there's a date that's coming up. I mean, there are endless possibilities with that. But with plugins and with something this advanced, it can often not work the way that you want it to. So for me, and even for WordPress sites that are not professional sites, the best thing to do if you're ever encountering any kind of problem is update everything. I mean, there are ways to go, and even if you don't need an update, go and do it, because 9 times out of 10, that will restart your whole site and it'll come back up. But you go to pages. Where is it? Categories, not pages. Don't go to pages. Don't make a new page. It's so much harder that way. So you just make a new category underneath for whatever class that you want to do, and you can all put them under the same place, or you could put them in a different place. Doesn't matter. And then I'm trying to think of and then you can make posts to go underneath those categories. So you don't necessarily have to make a whole new WordPress. It's much easier for your professors and for you to keep everything in one. Do you have any like specific questions on how to keep that, or do you want me to explain anything any further?
No, I get it now.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so just what I do is just make a general category, classwork or university samples or whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. And then every time you have a new class, make a new category, write the name of the class, and then change its parent page to your classwork. So that way it all goes in the same place. And then when you make a post, one way that Jessica showed you how to make sure that your posts go to different pages, all of my stuff on my page functions like a blog almost. And I like it that way because I think it's visually works better for me. So you go and you add a new post and you scroll down over here, and then you have all of the categories that you can put it under. So if you were to put it under this one, just the classwork samples, it wouldn't show up under any of these 3. So you would have to select, okay, I'm going to put it under, or any of these, there's more. So you have to select that. So let's say I'm putting a post in communication and rhetoric, and I'm writing a post here, and I'm putting my title. But if you don't select one of these things when you're doing a blog post, like the ones that I do, it's going to not show up anywhere on your site, especially because my homepage is a static page. So you can say, oh my goodness, I created this post, where did it go? It's not on my website. So go back to your posts where you created them, select a category, or else it's going to automatically go to uncategorized, and then it disappears. Is that helpful to how? And then obviously you can either do one post for every class. I like to do different ones because I think it it helps me a little bit better. It helps the professor to kind of distinguish what work is what, and it's not all in one big long line. So that's why I like to do it that way. Any other questions? And that kind of answers your question of where do I put my posts when I create them? The way that Jessica did is awesome. I learned things. The good thing about WordPress is we all learn things from each other. I had no idea that you could do that with your WordPress. I didn't know you could categorize it that way. I've always done it in the other way because my site functions like
yeah, because my menu is all pages, and then I have
yours are
so it's completely
so yours is different because you only have one blog.
Right.
See, if your site was like mine with like I don't know 5 blogs or something like that, pages that function like that, it's a little bit more. It's not more complex, but you have to do it differently. How to update? Okay, so on the Rambler site, usually if it needs an update, there's a little red notifications that show up and tell you, please update this. You want to be checking your site at least once every couple of days, if not every day, to make sure that it doesn't need an update. There are ways to go, and I have to remember how to do this, to go and just go ahead and update things. Yeah, dashboard, updates, right there at the top. There are ways to go and look and do updates if there are none that are needed. But see, here it says, I have the latest version of WordPress. But if something was severely wrong with the site, you could go and say, reinstall. Because sometimes that gives your WordPress a little reboot. But currently, somebody, probably me, updated the plugins the other day. So they're all up to date. Or did you do it the other day? I did it like a week ago, so I didn't know if it was. But WordPress, especially when you have a professional site, especially when you're dealing with plugins, there are constantly updates. Let's go back to my page for themes. I, as a college student, like for everything to be free. And so choosing your theme is really important. And the one that I have right now, I chose it based on the way that my posts were going to show up. I was helping somebody with their WordPress the other day, and their theme had it so that their post showed up really strangely, and it didn't look very visually appealing. But it's really easy to do. When I go up to the top, in order to not fall in love with any themes and want to buy them, you click the free button, and then all free themes are going to show up. So realistically, you can preview them on your site, but it's hard to tell what it's going to look like until you actually download them and put them onto your site. So this is a preview of this site, which I already don't like it because it's very basic. Like, here's a little menu button, and I just
see, like that website, the categories doesn't work. So
yeah, and then there are some that are more mobile friendly. Like my site is. So if you were to view my site on a mobile device, it would work just as well as any other mobile site like Facebook or whatever. But there are some of these that are not very mobile friendly, and it's just, it takes me like an hour, 2 hours to pick out a theme if I want to change it, just because I, A, am very OCD, and B, I want my website to look a very specific way. And so you can kind of tell by looking at the previews, like what it's going to do, but like a website like this may not be the best option for me personally. This one is better. I like the ones that have the menus across the top. Some menus are on the side. It's just all about what you want to do personally. But there are a lot of really, really good theme options that are free, which is nice. And then there's a lot of themes that are not free that are really, really nice. So if you ever want to invest in one of those, I recommend it because they look really great.